Today on Supper with Sylvia, I'm chatting with the one and only Rick Bayless, chef, TV host, and the man who made America fall in love with authentic Mexican food. We talk about how a kid from his family's barbecue joint in Oklahoma found his passion south of the border, why giving back is such a big part of his recipe for life, and the comfort food that warms his soul. Oh, and get this, he's never ordered takeout, ever. Yes, I asked him twice. So sit back, grab a snack, and get ready for a taste of Rick Bayless's world.
At Mariano's, we love how every product has a story, and some of the best stories come from right here in Chicago.
That's why we started We Love Local. It's our way of shining a light on small businesses and farmers and food makers who pour their hearts into what they do.
When you see a local item on our shelves, you know you're supporting someone's dream and keeping our community strong.
From family recipes passed down for generations to brand new ideas born in neighborhood kitchens, We Love Local brings those stories to your table. Because when local thrives, we all do.
Mariano's is a proud sponsor of the Supper with Sylvia podcast.
Rick, I'm so excited that you have made it on the podcast.
I am too. We've been planning this and trying this for a long time
It
now,
has
right?
been a while, yes. And the thing I love to tell everybody is Rick and I have a connection, and that's Oklahoma.
Oklahoma,
Yeah.
yes.
And you grew up in Oklahoma. A lot of people may not know this, in a
Yes.
family of restaurateurs.
Yeah.
And so that's how this whole thing started.
Barbecue.
Right?
I grew up in barbecue,
Yeah.
and I know that you know what Oklahoma barbecue is really all about. Now, were you raised in Oklahoma, or did you just go to school there?
No, so I actually, my dad was in the Army, and we moved around everywhere, but I started school in Oklahoma when I was in kindergarten.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's home.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And Oklahoma barbecue. Everybody always thinks about Texas barbecue, but there's good barbecue in Oklahoma.
No, and it's a very different style because what I grew up with was focused on pork ribs. So similar to what a lot of people know as Kansas City,
Yes.
but we did a dry rub like they do in Texas, and I let that sit for at least 24 hours, usually 48 hours, slow cooked with hickory, not with mesquite or a lot of the other kinds of woods that are out there. And then we served it with sauce on the side. So that again sort of echoes some things from Texas rather than what you get in Kansas City. So I always thought of Oklahoma barbecue as sort of like the best of both worlds.
I agree with you, Ed. You know, it's funny. It wasn't until I left Oklahoma that I even heard of a baby back rib. Right?
Yeah. You know, we were spare ribs
Yeah,
all the way.
spare. I liked
Yes.
it with the meat, all that meat on the bone.
Oh,
So
it's
good,
so good, so
right?
good.
Okay, I have to tell everybody. You've heard this story. I've had the honor of interviewing you several times, but I have 3 top meals in my life. You know this story, I've told you, and one of the most unforgettable meals I've ever had was at Topolobampo, and it was your art dinner dining menu.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
So if you don't know this, Rick is a huge collector of Mexican art.
Yes.
And your restaurants are filled with beautiful artwork, as this library that you have. We
Yes.
also see plenty of artwork. And so I came to your dinner, and it was, you're going to get different beautiful plates that are going to match the artwork that is on the
Yes.
wall. And I just remember, but the food was fantastic. The presentation was stunningly beautiful. You had all of my senses firing up. Tell me about that.
That's the way that we want it to be. So that menu, we change the menu about every 7 or 8 weeks in Topolobampo. And the menu is a theme, and we're going to tell you a story. And at that particular moment, we were telling the story of the artwork that we have. And so we put it in context, but then the chefs that are creating those dishes are creating something that resonates with the piece of art, meaning that it looks like it or it has the same sort of feel to it. And then when you eat it, it's almost like you're eating the painting.
Yes.
So you really are firing on lots of senses. And that is what our goal is, so that when you leave, you have a different perspective on that art, because in some ways you've consumed that art. You've learned something about that piece of art, this perhaps the artist that did it, and what the inspiration for it was. but then you've consumed it in a way that gives you an opportunity to be with that piece of art for a longer period of
So
time.
special too. And I noticed today when I came in that there's some new pieces. You rotate them.
We do.
Yeah.
Our collection is yeah, I'm an inveterate art
Yes,
collector.
you are.
So our collection is bigger than we can display in the restaurant.
Wow.
So I'm always moving pieces around. I would say that our offices are the most beautiful offices in the world, in the sense that there's just so much art on the walls in our offices, but that's our storage place. And so then we take pieces off and rotate them into the
and
restaurant.
they all have a great story.
They do. Yeah, we just came out with a book last year on our collection. So we feature, I think it's about 110 pieces from our collection in the book. We have about triple that, unfortunately, but a lot of them are from the same artist. So what we wanted to do was to tell you the story of the artist and what they contributed to the history of Mexican art. And so we wanted to put that into a book with these beautiful pictures. And in fact, at the back of that book, we included a chapter on the art menus in Topolo. So we showed you the picture of the painting and then a picture of the dish and talk about those and how they go together.
Yeah, I have those all on my phone. I took that.
Oh,
it's just
nice.
unforgettable. Seriously, one of my all-time favorite meals I've ever had. I will never forget it. So thank you for that.
Well, yeah, we started it just on a whim, I will tell you. And we said, could we do something like that? And the chefs got so excited about it that we've continued to do it now pretty much every year for the last decade or so.
And was that your goal, was to stimulate all those senses?
Yes,
Were you
absolutely.
thinking, if we do this, this is going to happen?
Yes, absolutely. We thought it would be a really interesting way to get our guests to interact with the art, because you do look at it and think
Yes.
about it and taste it. And it's not just two-dimensional looking at it on the wall.
It's so special. I love that. Is that book number 9, by the way?
That was
remember?
actually 10.
10. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. 10 books. Okay.
Got another one I'm just
Oh,
about
really?
done with. Yes.
Ooh, what's it gonna be about?
It's my love letter to street food in Mexico, the heritage street food of Mexico. So as you can imagine, it focuses a lot on tacos, but also there are many other categories of street food in Mexico, and that's what I really wanted to focus on here. Right now, a lot of the young chefs are showing us the potential of Mexican food, and they're sort of thinking outside the box and reinterpreting and rethinking. And I am so in love with the traditional food, the heritage food of Mexico. I thought I'm going to do a big compendium of these traditional heritage street foods. So that's what this book is. But about half the book is focused on tacos.
Great. When's it coming out?
I don't know.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit behind. And so let's say 2 years.
Okay. Okay. I'll hold you to that.
Takes
We'll
a
come
long.
back. I can't wait to see it.
It takes a long time.
Yeah, I know it's hard. Okay, so speaking of that, this is the thing that you are known for. I mean, you become one of the biggest champions of authentic Mexican cuisine, and you did it early on. Tell me about the very first time, that moment that you fell in love with Mexican food. What happened?
You know, I think it was probably when I was 14 and I took my first trip to Mexico. And I was a precocious 14-year-old and convinced my family that I could plan a trip to Mexico City for our annual vacation. And I did. For some reason, they said yes, okay. And I went to the travel agent because we had no online anything back in those days. I went to the travel agent. I booked the hotel. I booked the airfare, all of
14.
that. 14. And then I planned every day what we were going to do on that trip. And I had stars in my eyes thinking that this was going to be my first trip to a foreign country. And I grew up in a very middle-class restaurant family. We had very little time off. And this was the first time we'd ever gotten on an airplane to go on a vacation. So when we got there, I was expecting a lot.
But why Mexico? Why did you pick Mexico City?
You know, I was really interested in other cultures all the time growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always read books about other cultures. And I figured that this was about as far away from home as I would ever get, was to go to Mexico City. So I planned that, and I thought that it was going to be a really positive experience. I had had 2 years of junior high Spanish, which I thought was going to stand me in good stead. And about 30 seconds in Mexico, I realized I didn't understand anything anyone said to me, but I still was courageous and kept using my Spanish. And we got to the hotel. I looked out into the park. It was starting to get dark, and we were right across the street from the Alameda Park. And I looked out there and I just saw all this vibrant culture that was right in front of me, the street vendors and the people selling trinkets and the balloon vendors and the people that were singing and all of that. And I left the hotel room, went to the park, and I was standing there just still for a few minutes. And I just thought, oh my God, I think I've come home. This is where I want my life to be. And so I was able to, after that, to spend, I will say, probably once a year through high school. I went on a student trip of some sort to Mexico, and then I got to college and I studied Spanish language, literature, Latin American studies. Went to study in Mexico, and then went to graduate school in anthropology and linguistics. And after that, my wife and I moved to Mexico because I loved being there. It just felt so much like home, but every time I went, I found something new that sparked more of my interest. And so we lived there for 5 years, came back and decided that we were going to open this restaurant. And that's now 38 years ago, that we are still doing that same thing, which is to shine a really strong light on the traditional foods of Mexico.
I love that. So that is a great segue. You guys opened in 1987, Frontera.
Yeah, I know. It really sounds, when you think it's like pre-cell phones, pre-internet, all of the things that define modern life.
And not only that, but here you are in River North when there really wasn't a whole lot over here during that time.
Really, really pretty scuzzy neighborhood back then. A lot of porn shops and a lot of dive bars is what I can say. And we had one place that was our anchor, and it was Kitty Corner from Frontera. It was Gordon Restaurant, and it was a high-end restaurant. People took their limos and stuff to have their high-end dinners there. But most people did not look for like street parking or anything back in those days because it was considered a rough neighborhood. So we had to field these calls constantly at the restaurant. Is it safe to park in the lot across the street and walk across the street? Will anybody accost us? That sort of thing. And we had to promise them that it was all okay, that we were fine. But then the problem got to be we didn't take reservations. And so we had to find a place. We didn't have a bar or anything. So we had to find a place for these people. So we sent all of our customers waiting for their tables to a bar that was 2 doors down called Frankie Z's. And then again, pre-cell phones. So we would call from our restaurant to Frankie Z's. The bartender would answer and we'd say, we got the table for the Joneses now. And then the bartender would say, Joneses, your table's ready at Frontera. And they would pay up and then come down to our place. So that's what we did for years in this restaurant because we didn't take reservations. And it was a very interesting thing that when we finally were able to open our own bar here and keep it all in-house, it sort of changed the world of Frankie Z's because they weren't all waiting down there. But sometimes the wait could get to as much as 2.5 hours for a table.
I want to talk about that because, so this is 1987. We're going back in time, okay? Yeah. And this is a huge leap because once again, we're talking authentic Mexican cuisine. So there are dishes that Chicagoans, people who came to eat, had never even heard of. No. Right?
No.
And give me some examples.
Just something simple as ceviche, okay? So ceviche, lime marinated fish, but you don't ever cook the fish. You just marinate it in the lime juice. And the lime juice sort of cooks it, if you will. It changes the texture of it and so forth. But I will say that we had a hard time selling that because this was before sushi was popular in the U.S., so people were not used to raw fish. And we had an appetizer platter that most people ordered. But I will say maybe half of the people that ordered it would say, can you just substitute something for that ceviche? So we had like a shrimp cocktail or something like that we put on there in place of it. But it was such a different era, and we put mole on the menu. We've had that on the menu since the day we opened, but people were really hesitant. They've said, "Oh no, I heard that's a chili chocolate sauce and it's terrible, and that you have to be raised eating it to ever appreciate it." And we'd say, "No, no, no. Can we give you a little taste of it?" So we were all night long giving people tastes of all the sauces because they just weren't comfortable with these things yet. I will tell you, the first customers that came into our restaurant, it was a four-top, they sat down, they opened the menus, they closed the menus, they got up from the table, and they said, "This isn't Mexican food. You guys will be out of business in 6 months." Well, thankfully, I can say this story 38 years later, but that's what we had to contend with, people coming into the restaurant. Now, we were very lucky because within 6 weeks, we had gotten 2 major reviews back in the day when Chicago Magazine was a place that everybody looked to for the restaurant reviews. And we got a really good review, not off the charts best review, because that would have killed us, okay? But we got also a piece in the New York Times, and it was a big piece in the New York Times because our first book had come out the day our restaurant opened. Now, you could never plan that, but it just was happenstance that we got that. And so somebody from the New York Times came and ate our food and said, "We don't have anything like that." We always say that the way to get famous in New York is to open a restaurant that they don't have in Chicago, okay? So it was like people were like saying, "No, we don't have anything like this in New York." And so this is a place that people should go. So people would fly from New York to eat in our place. And then, of course, the Chicagoans that read the New York Times, which was a lot of people, said, "No, we've got to go to it." And that really launched us.
Wow. Did you ever think, oh my gosh, here I am trying this innovative, authentic Mexican cuisine. People are telling me I'm never going to last. Did you ever think this may not work?
I thought that every single day for about the first 6 months we were open. My wife and I on the weekends would plan that if we didn't make it, and you should never do this, but we had borrowed the money to open the restaurant from 3 sources: my mother's retirement fund, my mother-in-law's retirement fund. That's what you should never do. And then a restaurateur friend of ours in California that believed in what we were doing. He could have lost that money and it wouldn't have affected him, but I had to pay back the money from my mother and my mother-in-law. And so on the weekends, my wife and I would sit down and calculate what kind of jobs we could get, how long it would take us to pay all this money back. We were scared to death because I believed in the food that we were doing, but it was so different than anything that Chicago had seen.
I just want to know, did you pay them back?
Within 9 months, thank God we were lucky, and our business was just, by the time that we had hit that 6-month mark, we were doing really well.
That's amazing.
And so we could barely keep up with what we were doing at that 6-month mark. So I will say that we were able to pay back my mother and my mother-in-law's funds within a year, and our friend within a year and a half.
Wow. And was it that New York Times article that was a game changer, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Without
Because
a
you had
doubt.
lines out the door and you didn't know what to do.
And we didn't know what to do, yeah. But when the New York Times writes you up, it's a big deal.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge deal. So you've explored absolutely every corner of Mexico, right? I mean, you've been everywhere. And I'm curious, I love your website. I love watching all of your social media. I love your YouTube channel. Is there one food experience you have had in Mexico that you could share with us that was just something that maybe completely surprised you, or that is so stuck in your brain, maybe a first-time experience?
When my wife and I lived in Mexico City, On Sundays, we would take the communal taxis, they're called peceros. We would take the pecero all the way out to this far south suburb of Tlalpan, and there is a restaurant out there that is called Arroyo. And Arroyo seats about 2,000 people in four rooms that are all open to the air. They have roofs over them, but no walls. And there are roaming bands that are playing every style of Mexican regional music. And you walk into this place and it's dirt floors, and right, it was dirt floors back then. Now they have actually put the tiles down on the floors. But you went out there to eat barbacoa, which is the lamb that is wrapped in maguey leaves and then buried in a pit in the ground and cooked for hours and hours. And they have a whole bank of these pits. And when you walk into the restaurant, you actually walk into the kitchen and they're frying carnitas and chicharrones and all that sort of stuff. It was like one of the most joyous dining experiences I'd ever had. Now, my wife and I would go out there and we would say a table for two, and they would look up at us like, you're kidding, right? You're kidding, because no one goes out there with two people. You go out there with 10 people or 20 people, your whole family,
It's a party.
It's a party. It's like you go out there and they have a stage in one of the rooms where they do all that really gorgeous charro music, and there's a whole mariachi band and dancers and singers. And I will say it was the most transcendent experience with food I think I have ever had, because it was just the absolute joyous celebration of life. And I will say Mexico does that better than anyone. And I will never forget that. We used to go out there at least once a month and sit at our little crazy table for two off to the side, and they would like, what do you guys want? I mean, did you come out here to eat? I mean, because we put big platters of barbacoa and carnitas on the tables, and we would order what we would order and take the rest of it with us to munch on for the next couple of days. No, it's
Wow. Is
Mexico
it still there?
celebrates. It is still there. It is so spectacular. Almost no tourists ever get there. And you really do need to go on Sunday. That's the big day when the families all come out. There's a small playground in the back for the kids to go to, and they've got clowns doing balloon animals and everything. It's just so much fun.
Oh, that sounds great. I want to go now. Okay, you take your team to Mexico.
Yes.
And tell me how that all came about. If I talk to any of your people, they've all been with you, and they are all experts on where to go and what to see. And
Yes.
I'm just curious, how did this come about, and what do you guys all get from that?
We started the first one when we opened Topolobampo. So 2.5 years after we opened Frontera, we were able to take the space that was next to us and do what I'd always wanted to do. In Mexico City, there are these really beautiful fine dining Mexican restaurants. And in the United States, everybody thought fine dining Mexican, that's an oxymoron. That's not something that should exist, because it's a taco culture. Well, yeah, it's a taco culture, but it's also a beautiful fine dining culture. And the service in Mexico, especially in Mexico City and other big cities, is second to none. That hospitality, we call it the Mexican sense of hospitality, is unrivaled in the world. And I wanted to be able to do a restaurant that was like that. So in 1989, toward the end of the year, we opened Topolobampo, and we were able to offer a less robust experience. That Frontera it's a joyous place,
Yes.
and I love that. It's more like Arroyo, if you
Yes.
will. But I wanted to do something that was more like the San Angelin or the Hacienda de los Morales, one of the old-fashioned places that was really genuine caring and loving service. And so we did that. And as a thank you to the staff for all the work that we had to go through, I said, I want to take all of our management staff that really helped us do that to Mexico. And so we spent a few days in Mexico City over the 4th of July when we usually closed for an extra couple of days. And that started this tradition. And so that would be now 35 years that we've been doing that. Now we've sort of broken it up into smaller groups so that instead of taking 25 people like we did for years and years, we take groups of 10 basically, and we go into a different region all the time, and we have just this amazing experience together. So it's team building. It's a way to bond with our staff. It's a way to share with our staff our inspiration, my wife's and my inspiration. And when they come back, the amount of people they touch with that firsthand experience of having had the dinner at this restaurant and that restaurant it's invaluable. And we realized right away that, we were doing something that was really special. Instead of just me talking to them about what these wonderful experiences are, we give them firsthand experience with it so they can share that with our guests.
And the food tastes even better, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It does.
They have that connection.
Yes.
I'm curious, is there a particular dish or ingredient from Mexico that you still think Americans misunderstand?
I don't think misunderstand. There's some that just haven't found their way into the mainstream yet, okay? But they will. I mean, there's these ones in central Mexico, like pipicha, or sometimes called ceviche, in Papalo, and down in Oaxaca, Pitiona. There's a whole bunch of herbs down there that have a robust flavor, but people haven't had an opportunity to really have it here. There's another herb, a very large heart-shaped leaf called hoja santa, which is beginning to get some traction in the United States. And a piece of fish that's wrapped in that leaf and steamed is just exquisite. And so now we're starting to see it can grow in Texas, it can grow in California. So now a lot of people are starting to grow it here. And to me, that's the expansion of knowledge that we really need about real Mexican food. Because let's face it, I grew up in, you know the Tex-Mex version of Oklahoma Mexican food, okay? That's what I grew up on. And when I went to Mexico City, my parents were saying, this is not Mexican food. This is not, because what I grew up with, we always say it's all one color, all one texture, and covered in melted cheese, okay? Yes. So I happen to love it, okay? I love that stuff. It's still good. But it's certainly not fine dining kind of stuff. But then you start to explore this other side of Mexican food, and people tend to want to still gravitate back to all that melted cheese. I can't tell you how many people in my life have told me when I say I specialize in the food of Mexico, and they go, I just love all that melted cheese. And I was like, then stay away from Mexico because there's not that much melted cheese in Mexico. Yeah. They do some garnishing cheeses that are more like Parmesan or Romano cheese, They have all these different things, but they don't do a ton of melted cheese. And so it really wasn't until it was this place called Sanborns in Mexico City that started off just as a pharmacy that then went to a lunch counter and then went to a restaurant with a pharmacy attached to it. But it was actually started by an American. And in that place, they developed what is called enchiladas suizas. It was the first time in Mexico that melted cheese had gone on an enchilada. Now, probably everybody listening to this podcast is going to say, oh, no, really, the defining thing about an enchilada is that it has melted cheese on it. But that came late to Mexico. That was during the 1950s that was developed. Melted cheese is not a huge part of traditional Mexican food.
I love it. That's why we need you to kind of show us how it all comes down. It's funny because I've had people talk about you and they refer to you as a Mexican chef, and someone said, wait a minute, he's not Mexican.
Well, I think I've been naturalized now.
I think so too.
After so many years and having, I mean, I came up through academic world and in anthropology, and one of the things that I have always brought to my my study of Mexican food is an anthropological approach, which means that you have to separate yourself from it. Now, a lot of and God bless them all, the people that I work with here that grew up in Mexico or grew up in the United States, but when Mexican families. What they all talk about is, no, this is the way we make it. We don't vary from this recipe because this is the way my grandmother made it. This is the way my grandmother's mother made it. And so there's that real respect for tradition. I love it. I think that is really great. The reason I can do the work that I do is because I don't have a Mexican grandmother. And so I can look at all these grandmothers' recipes and I can say, oh, there's similarities in them. And this one does this particular thing really well. And this one does another thing particularly well. So I can sort of pull the best of all of those things and put them together in one recipe. And that's what I always publishing is the things that I've learned from all of these different grandmothers, because they're the keepers of the tradition without doubt. But I can pull all of that stuff together because I don't have to be allied to just my own grandmother.
Right. Yeah, and that's what's so great. I mean, it seems like every time you go back and you're exploring and you're finding out new things.
Yes.
Your energy and your excitement for what you do, how do you keep it?
Oh, that's easy. It doesn't, I don't have to work at it. No, I will say that I've always had great curiosity and I love exploring other cultures. But I find Mexico endlessly interesting, and it is an endless font for me of new stuff. That's what I really love about it. And I will tell you, because it is such a regional country, every region has such depth and complexity that I could never spend enough time in any one of them to say that I was really an expert at it. When I talk to people from those regions, I know enough about it that I can carry on a really good conversation. And because I've spent so much time in the kitchen trying to perfect the well-known specialties from the regions, I can hold my own. But at the same time, they can always teach me something new.
Yeah, and you are constantly learning. Okay, so you have received endless awards. I'm not even going to go into because there are so many, but we're talking Michelin, 7 James Beard Awards, including Humanitarian of the Year. Which brings me to there's a reason that you got that. You're very philanthropic. You have several organizations to help give back. The Frontera Foundation.
That was the first one.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, so we started that about 25 years ago. And what I had learned when I was living in Mexico is that the best food in the restaurants and in the homes always came from the areas that had the best local agriculture. And you don't ship stuff in and expect it to really inspire the cooks. And so wherever there was great local agriculture, there was great and deep traditions of the kitchen. So I moved to Chicago. We had no farmers markets here. Trying to get any local anything was impossible. And I said, we've got one of my goals opening our restaurant was to make Chicago a great restaurant town. We were known for steakhouses and Italian beef and, a few of the pizzas and stuff like that. But we weren't a great restaurant town. And I said, we need to change this. But we are never going to change it unless we have great local agriculture. And so I worked very hard for those first few years to find some farms in the outlying area that would supply our restaurants. And they would do it for a season and say, this is too much work. We don't have the infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. So eventually, I teamed up with some other chefs that sort of shared my sentiment, and we started the Green City Market. That was the first big foray, and there was really only one farmer's market, I think. There may have been 2 at that point that were city-sponsored, but the people didn't even have to sell stuff that they grew. They could go to the produce terminal and buy stuff and sell it as a farmer's market. It was more like an amenity. And when we opened the Green City Market, it had to be farmer grown, and a farmer had to be in the stall to talk to the people about the growing of that. And I thought, okay, now we're taking the step in the right direction. But remember, Green City Market started in the alley of the Chicago Theater. That was where the first one was, and we had 7 farmers. 7 farmers there. Now, up in Lincoln Park,
and West
we
Loop
had in
has
West
one.
Loop and another one in Avondale. But the one up in the Lincoln Park, that there are like 30,000 people that go through that market every weekend. So we're doing the right thing, and we're selling lots of local produce, and you can't be a well-respected chef without working with farmers here in this city. So that my vision for what Chicago could be, I think has come to fruition.
And what I love is you're helping out small farmers who
Yes.
might not be able to sustain what they're doing by giving them grants. Tell me how that works.
Thank you for coming back to Anne's helping me answer the question that you had asked at the beginning there. I got so into the farmers and the chefs, but I will say, so right away we learned that a lot of the farms that we were working with, they couldn't supply the amount of produce that we needed. And so one of the farmers came with a bag of this gorgeous spinach to us in February. And I said, how are you growing this? He was a Wisconsin farmer. I said, how are you growing this in February? And he goes, I have this high tunnel, a hoop house. And he said, I know a variety that can grow. And we trap the solar gain in that hoop house during the day, and then it slightly freezes at night. And I said, don't tell another chef about this stuff. I want all of this, and I want 5 times this much. And he said, oh, I could never do that. So I said to him, what would you need? And he goes, I don't have the money to put another hoop house in. I said, what if we lent you the money to put the hoop house in, and you paid us back in spinach? And so he did that. And that started the idea for a no-interest loan program to small farms. And we did that for 5 years, and then we turned it into a 501c3 not-for-profit where we were giving grants. And so we have invested, we're getting close to the $4 million mark now. And these are small grants because most of the farms need small grants. And when we say small grants, we're talking about between $10,000 and $15,000 to take their farm to the next level.
That doesn't seem like much.
So
it makes a world of difference, huh?
Yes. I mean, it's pocket change for a lot of wealthy people. And yet it means all the difference in the world to the growing of these small family farms in the Midwest.
Wow. And you're still doing that today.
Yes, and we are. And we're just getting ready on I think the 6th of October, we're going to have our big fundraiser for this year. And I will say that we have wonderful, wonderful people that come and they buy auction items and they eat this, we call it dinner like no other, because it's not the food from our restaurant. It's a different theme every year. You don't know what it is until the very last second when you walk in the door and we tell you, we're feeding you this food tonight. Okay, I can't let you know that. Last year's was all about the neighborhoods of Chicago. And we did a specialty we didn't do 77. We have 77 neighborhoods here, but we did a 7-course meal that featured 7 different neighborhoods of Chicago.
Fun.
It's fun. We've done all kinds of things. Yes.
Sounds like a good time. Okay, so you've met and cooked with so many people. I'm curious, is there one guest that kind of had an impact on you?
Barack Obama.
Do tell.
We didn't know when we got this reservation in Topolobampo. Michelle had eaten here a lot because she used to work around the corner from here. And so she used to come for lunch with friends and stuff like that, and she liked it. And so we got this reservation one Friday night, and we didn't know. You never know people in the public eye what they want. This is when Barack was a senator. And so usually a lot of the senators that we have had, they want to be in a table where they can, wave at everybody and be seen and everything like that. So we put them at our premier table where everyone could see them there and everything. And I felt that they were kind of uncomfortable. And so we moved them to the least conspicuous table. And Brock said, thank you very much. This is my thing. This is our date night. And so they used to come regularly on Friday nights for their date night. And they were very...
Whose name was the reservation under?
Under Brock's name. It was, yes.
Wow,
and,
okay.
And we really, really appreciated them coming. And we got to be friends with them during that time. And I'm sure that that's what led to the invitation that they made to us for their second state dinner for the president of Mexico. And we were able to go to the White House and cook that meal.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Wow.
Just amazing.
Unforgettable, right?
Yeah.
Okay, is there an ingredient you are obsessed with right now?
Oh, that's you're asking me at the wrong time of the year because I'm such a farmer's market fiend that during the summertime, and my wife always makes fun of me because I get to the farmer's market on Sunday morning, and I go to the Wicker Park Farmer's Market on Sunday morning because that's the beginning of my weekend. Okay, and a lot of the vendors there we have invested with the Frontera Farmer Foundation grants and stuff, so I have lots of people to say hi to. So I get there, and my heart starts to beat faster. And my wife will just say, it's like, just take deep breaths, It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I say, oh, but did you see these plums over here? These are my favorite plums. So there's a plum that is called, of all things, it's called bubblegum plum because when you taste it, it just explodes with this flavor that is the most beautiful plum flavor, but with a lot of floral in it. And it reminds you a little bit of bazooka bubblegum.
Oh, really? From when you were kids?
It's when you're kids, okay? And so I'm obsessed with those right now. I eat one of them every morning, and I eat it by myself where I can just take in all of that flavor. And the white donut peaches, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. The Red Haven peaches, on Monday, I made this gorgeous peach cobbler with Red Haven peaches. Yum. So I would say that I am just obsessed with our local fruit right now. I said to one of our cooks, man, every morning I get up and I have these flavors in my head, and I will say it's like going from black and white to Technicolor.
I love that.
It's just you eat these things and they just explode with flavor in your head. And for our listeners that don't go and buy the tree ripened stuff at the farmer's market, do it because it will just open a whole new area of flavor for you. What you find in the grocery store is almost all picked to green, and it never develops the full flavor.
Well, give me a tip. I'm going to go to the farmer's market, okay?
Yeah.
And there's all these cool things out there, like you just mentioned, some of which I've never heard of. I am so intimidated. I don't even know where to begin. Yeah. What suggestion do you have for me?
Okay. So this is what I would think. Most of the people that are doing produce will grow leeks, and they will grow potatoes. Okay, potatoes pedestrian, right? Not when you taste the ones that were fresh dug from the farmer's market. So I would say get one of the sort of a creamy textured, not like a russet, but we don't grow very many russets around here, but creamy textured, one of the gold potatoes or something like that. And then I always say take some those leeks and cut off the white part, and chop it, just cut it in 1/4 inch pieces crosswise, and put that into a pan with maybe 2 leeks, I'll say, and put that into a pan with either butter or with bacon. I like it with bacon, okay? Yeah. And then you cook that slow until the leeks just almost melt, and then add the chopped up potato to that, and then fill it up with some chicken stock or veg stock, whichever direction you're going, and let that simmer for about half an hour. Okay, you can pour that into a blender and blend it smooth if you want to, or eat it chunky. The potatoes will start falling apart, but you will have an absolutely revelatory experience with that, because the leeks are so fresh and the potatoes are so good. And you've made just a simple potato and leek soup, but if you have the bacon, it'll be a little smoky. The butter will make it a little bit richer. I like to put a spoonful of like creme fraiche or something like that. And it could even be Greek yogurt, and stir that in. And it just
sounds great.
It's so good. But that's where you start, is something simple like that. And then just stop and pay attention to the flavor because it'll blow you away.
Yeah, and then I'm more likely to want to go back and try something new, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it can be a challenge.
Or just buy some tomatoes right now and put some salt and pepper and eat them, okay? Drizzle of olive oil is really good. Maybe some basil leaves, because all those people have basil and that sort of thing. So just a simple tomato and basil salad is also very, very good.
And I love that the Green City Market has that Avondale location in the wintertime, so we can do this year round now.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So when you want a comfort meal and you're not Chef Rick Bayless, what's on your table? What's on the dinner table? You're hosting maybe a casual dinner, or you just want to fix something for yourself that's comfort.
Okay, so my my go-to comfort food when I was 8 years old and to this very day is chicken and biscuits. So it's chicken with carrots and peas in a kind of gravy, a simple gravy. And then you put biscuits on top of that.
Okay.
And you bake it, okay? That will make me in a good mood no matter what, okay?
Warms your soul.
And when I was living in Mexico, the equivalent of that was chilaquiles, so crispy tortillas with roasted tomatillo sauce on them and cooked until they're just starting to soften. A drizzle of Mexican crema and queso añejo over that. Oh my gosh, I love that too. So that makes me really happy. Whenever I stop talking at a table and just need a little time with my food, you know I'm in a good place.
You're happy. Okay, you should have your own TV show.
Yeah.
I love the way you describe things. Oh my
Thank you.
gosh, you're making me hungry just sitting here talking to you. So I'm wondering now, you have accomplished so much. You have, like I said, I love your excitement and your zest. I mean, I feel like you haven't changed from the day you started this to where you are today.
I'm a better cook.
You're probably right, but
Yes.
your emotions and your commitment to this, I feel like, Topolobampo, 36 years. Frontera is going to be celebrating 40. I can't wait to celebrate that
know.
with you. What's going on? What's coming up for the future? What are your plans?
Well, okay. So I told you about a book that I'm working on now. I have a very active YouTube. I decided after 12 seasons of Mexico One Plate at a Time on public television that I had done what I wanted to do with that. And Patty Henich came on the scene doing Mexican food in her way. And I thought, yeah, I'm just going to pass the baton to Patty. She's doing an amazing job with what she's doing. Very different than my style, but I took my style to YouTube. So I have a very active YouTube
Yes, you
channel. And I love being able to share things on YouTube. So we post every week a new recipe, something new. I do a lot of the question and answer kind of things on there. So it's personal and it's wonderful. So I'm going to continue to do that, the book that I'm working on. And I will tell you that now I'm really spending a whole lot of my time in the mentoring thing. So I work with a lot of young chefs, and I really want to see them really thrive. I want to see them flourish into everything that they can contribute to the next generation, and anything that I can do to help them in that, I want to do it. And we just are finishing up what we're calling the Homecoming series down in Bar Sotano. And we have had so many young chefs leave here and open their own restaurants that I wanted to invite them all back, one a month, to cook with us here and to shine a light on them, because I have been very lucky that over the years I've been able to have a light shown on me, so I could take some of that and shine it on them. And that's what I'm really focusing on now. Has a lot to do with mentorship and shining that light on the regions of Mexico, as I've always done, but also into the young talent that have come out of our kitchens.
We should talk about Bar Sotano because we haven't had a chance. I was at the airport the other day, actually, and I had to take a video of your choco there because the lines are a mile long. So you've got the airport stuff.
Yeah.
You've got, Frontera, of course, Topolobampo, Bar Sultano. That is a place that is kind of special and close to your heart too. And I tell everybody, I learned that I liked mezcal through Rick Bayless because I didn't think I liked mezcal. I thought it was all the same. That smokiness I didn't really like. And then I went to one of your tastings and I was like, whoa, I like mezcal.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety in it. And when you get the really overly smoky ones, typically they're inexpensive and not particularly well made. So what we try to focus on in Bar Sótano is the flavors of mezcal that come from all the different agaves from which it's made. So we do that, full kitchen there, simple food that pairs beautifully with the flavors of the mezcal.
So good.
Yeah, and
so good.
It is kind of speakeasy-ish.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah, you have to go around the back and go in the alley, and there's a door back there that you go through to go down to that place that doesn't have street presence.
Yeah, and you walk in there and it's dark. I love it. It's great. Okay, what is Rick Bayless's go-to restaurant in Chicago? I'm not asking you to.
I don't ever answer that question.
I'm not asking you to rate one. I'm not saying this is the best restaurant in town. Okay.
No.
But is there one that you're like, I'm just gonna come on? It's kind of your go-to, just because it's something that you're used to. I have mine. I think we all do.
I know.
Yes.
I will say that it's kind of an interesting world that we live in. I love to cook so much that my wife and I don't go out to eat very much, and when we do, it's usually one night a week, and we're going to whatever is the newest place because we're trying things out because we need to be up on those things.
Yeah.
But if you came over and said, let's just go get something simple, and I'll go, I can whip something up here in less time than what it would take for us to walk to a place or to drive to a place. And so I cook a lot at home. No one believes it. I have never ordered takeout in my life.
Are you serious?
I have never ordered it. When people say that they want to order a pizza, I say, why would you want to have a cold pizza delivered to your house? It's never going to be as good. If you're going to eat pizza, go to the place that they're making it and eat it when it's hot. But this whole culture that we're in right now of getting all this takeout and delivery and everything like that, I've never done it because by the time it could get to me, I could have made food and we could have eaten it already, So I have a really nice pantry and I keep stuff in my freezer. And so I make really good kimchi fried rice and I can make it in 20 minutes. Okay.
You can do it all.
So
wait, this is like a breaking news scoop here. Rick Bayless has never gotten takeout or delivery.
No, I don't even know how you do it. I've never gone on one of those apps and done it. My daughter, who lives next door, is kind of the queen of it, I think, and she can tell you exactly how to do all this stuff. But I'm like, I can make you a pasta dish. I can make you fried rice.
If I was your daughter and I lived next door, I'd be like, I'm going over to Dad's because he can whip this up for me in absolutely no time. Okay, so I'm just ask you some quick questions. Do you like sweet or savory? What do you prefer?
I'm a huge sweets fan. And I started my professional chef's career as a pastry chef. Nobody believes that, but that's where I started out. And I love making pastry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you had a choice between beer or wine?
I'm a total wino, and I love the tradition of it. Not that there's not great tradition with beer making as well, but I love the terroir aspect of wine, where the grapes are grown, and learning about that, and that's really my thing. A glass of red wine from a good vineyard is, like, to me, one of the greatest things in the world.
Okay, beach or winter vacation?
I'm not a beach person because I am way too active to sit on a beach. I said, if you told me that I had to have a week's vacation on a beach, I probably would have opened a restaurant by the end of it right there on the beach, a little shack there, and equipped it and figured out what my menu was going to be and be as happy as a lark there cooking on the beach, okay? But I am a total, I love mountains. I love culture. That's why I love Mexico so much. Even though everybody thinks beaches when they think about Mexico, it's a mountainous country, and I love that whole central part of Mexico.
Okay. So if you could look back after all these years and many more years to come of success, what would you say to that young Rick Bayless who first started that new restaurant and wasn't sure he was going to make it? Because there are young chefs and people who are starting out in their careers. What would you say to yourself? What would you say to them?
Believe in yourself, number one, because I'm always second guessing myself, even to this day. But I would say believe in yourself, but embrace the feelings of doubt, because they are going to spur you on to do great things, okay? Don't feel like you have to put that away. Get into the struggle of it all. Go through the struggle, but realize you have what you need. That's what I would say.
That is great advice. And you're still doing that today.
I am, and I'm still struggling with things all the time, but I'm a little bit better at telling myself, I've got what I need to get through all of this stuff. And I mean, COVID was super hard for us. And I think a lot of people don't even believe it, but we've never recovered from COVID. And so we've had to try to reinvent ourselves in different ways. And so that's been a struggle for us, but it's one that I try to tell myself, but this is making us better and it's making us stronger. And we have what we need to get through it all.
Well, I just want to say, what an honor and a pleasure.
Oh,
Seriously,
gosh,
Rick.
the honor is all
so
mine.
much. I always have such a good time when I talk to you. So thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to seeing you again out and about and celebrating many more years of your fabulous restaurants.
Thank you.
Rick Bayless, you're the best.
I appreciate that very, very much.
This podcast is produced by Jennifer Waters. Original music and audio editing, Donnie Cutting. Promotions and marketing, Julie Loken and the Media Casters. Social media, Magali Blaisdell. Thanks for listening to the Supper with Sylvia podcast. If you like and would be so kind, please like, share, and tell a friend, because we can't do this without your love and support. Thanks for listening.